$100 so we made a skit of this.
And we are live, just in case you were wondering. This is the Cult of Dangerous Gentlemen. And we just
Wait, no, don't go. Please wait.
wait. This is a message to black people.
No, for real. Don't. Come on. Can we talk about this? Come on.
Don't
Seriously,
listen.
guys, come back.
Don't listen
I
to
love
Scott
the
Adams.
cameraman. Look at all the cameramen out there.
You forgot your
Yeah.
snow cone and pistol.
Yeah, the
Come
cameraman.
back.
Those are world star greats right there.
Well, this is what's going on in spring break right now. Fort Lauderdale, a little bit of fighting, a little bit of drinking. This looks like innocent horseplay, though, to be honest. This isn't that bad, right? How come the white guys are playing football? This is racist.
No, it's multi-racial.
This is racist, bro. This is a mighty diverse crowd. I'll say that. There's a little bit of everybody in here. But to me, if you compare this footage with this footage,
You gotta mix the crowd up.
I don't see a difference.
You gotta mix the crowd up.
but when you mix the crowd up, everything looks less dangerous. No properties being destroyed. You got women tackling each other. That's always fun. Play a little football. What's going on, bro? Well, either way, the NAACP seems to know what's going on. They issued a travel warning. And you know what? I'll just let them tell it.
We are going to educate the people about Florida and what Florida is doing to black people that no black person should want to voluntarily come and be subjected to. Don't
He means this right here? This is what Florida's doing to black people?
come into racism. Stay away from it.
All right, guys.
Hold on. Don't come into racism. Stay away from it. I'm going to skip this part. I'm going to just go to the news report. Maybe we can get a little bit more information. Because I hear them telling black people that they should stay away from Florida because of the, quote, draconian laws that are being passed by the deeply evil Governor DeSantis, allegedly. But I haven't really heard much about what those laws are and what exactly they're doing to black people that black people shouldn't want to subject themselves to. I'm really trying to figure it out.
Travel advisory for Florida. Wait News anchor Annette Montgomery joins us in the studio. And Annette, who are they encouraging to stay away? And does the NAACP believe that people will listen?
NAACP wants every single black person to stay out of our state and to spend their money someplace else. And the organization believes if it issues such a travel advisory, millions of people will go someplace else.
He's our governor now, but if it's up to NAACP leaders here in Florida like James Muwakil, Ron DeSantis will get nowhere near the presidency.
The target is directly aimed at black people with some of the draconian laws that he's made, such as SB 90, where he's restricting vote by mail.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, he's stopping election fraud, or at least trying to slow it down. Yes.
In Florida.
Okay, so let me I want to be sure. We got the owner of Blackness here with us. We appreciate you, brother. And we also have our resident race trader, Naacp Cavemanstein, who's willing to give up all the racial secrets that people hold from each other. He's laying it all bare for everybody to see. So these are the two of the best people to ask this. If you restrict voting by mail, is that in fact racist towards black people specifically?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's racist.
Okay, so we got 50-50. All right, let's just unpack this a little bit. So, are black people the only people who vote by mail?
No, they're the only people that really don't care about voting, but will have ballots that someone else will make use of.
Oh,
in the highest of numbers.
Right. So how does that trickle down to racism, though?
It's not racism. It's It's anything that you do that limits Democrat power is attacked as racist. Anytime you point out a flaw in their rationale or the absurdity of their proposed solutions, it's racism. It's always racism. It's all racism all the time. It's just a great way to defend the indefensible and not have to actually talk about the merits of the issue. Because we're not talking about whether mailing in votes leads to more opportunities for fraud. Is it safe? Is it really necessary? If you don't care enough to actually make it to go vote, like, should you really have a say? Like, you can't even just go vote. You can't be bothered. It's not that important to you, but you're just going to mail it in. I mean, isn't that like halfway to the euphemism for just kind of not giving a fuck? You phoning it in? You're phoning it in. You're mailing it in.
Black people don't care about mailing in votes because they rather have the sticker and put it on Instagram and say that they voted.
Well, you can get that without vote. I think I'm getting it. I'm starting to understand that. Okay. So if you restrict mail-in votes, that means that you actually have to go to the voting booths and physically put your vote in, right? That's what that means. You can't use the mail-in ballots as much, so you need to physically go to the place. So, like, black people don't have cars, right? Black people don't have transportation. How are they supposed to get?
They have no way to get to the ballots.
Yeah, how are black people going to vote if you stop them from mailing stuff in?
I've heard on the news that they don't know how to get IDs, drive cars, or work the internet. Right, that's what I've heard on the news. Yeah. I haven't found it to be true in my own personal experience.
It explains the oppression.
I've heard reports.
Yeah, I don't know when's I don't know if I've ever seen a black person driving a car, to be honest. So, public transportation, but then they make you sit in the back of they still make you sit in the back of the bus, right? Or they make you pay more to get on the bus than white people.
Oh, you're still in the back.
I think they do force you to sit in the back, and also they actually put burning crosses right on in the middle, so you have to walk past them every time you're making your way to them.
Oh, so this intimidation, and it's transportation racism. See, I'm starting to get it. See, I knew he had a point. I knew he wasn't just talking crazy for no reason. So at least he gave us one piece of information that tells us why black people shouldn't come to Florida, because you can't mail a vote here. So I mean, nobody should subject themselves to the brutal racism of not being able to use a mail-in ballot. I mean, what is this, 1865? What the fuck is going on here, bro?
Refusing to allow AP Black Studies into the classroom.
AP Black Studies?
Advanced Placement Black Studies.
Oh, hold on.
We got reverse that.
Yeah, let's go back for a second.
AP Black Studies into the classroom. Advanced
Intersectionality and activism. Now this is advanced placement, so you get like extra credit for these classes, right? These are like fancy classes. It's not just regular.
That's the trick that they sell you, but you could just get your GED and go to a community college. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that I see what's going on here. So hold on, let me see this a little bit more. Scroll. Topic.
Just pause that one.
Black queer studies.
Black queer studies. I didn't even know that was a thing. I want to ban that.
No, it's important. It's more important than engineering. It's more important than being a surgeon. It's more important than being a pilot.
It is. That's true.
What we need to learn is not just about gay shit, about black gay shit.
That's just amazing to me.
You gotta learn about black queer studies.
Roderick Ferguson, who explains we have to encourage and develop practices whereby queerness isn't a surrender to the status quo of race, class, gender, and sexuality. It means building forms of queerness that reject the given realities of the government and the market.
What does that mean?
What? It means nothing.
Wait, hold on.
I want this class banned. You just proved me.
You're racist. That's racism, bro. You can't do that. You can't do that.
Oh,
you can't do that.
We have to look at these laws. Where did this come from?
Can I do it one more time? Well, just one more time, just for
queerness. No, because queerness is not a surrender to the status quo of race, class, gender, and sexuality. It's not. That's not what queerness is.
I just didn't understand any of that. I don't know if it's me. Maybe I'm rejecting this reality due to my internalized white supremacy, my internalized misogyny.
We're from the 90s. We're from the
Yeah,
90s.
exactly. That automatically makes you racist and a supporter of white supremacy. So let me just one more time, just for my own psychological well-being, just one more time.
Okay.
We have to encourage and develop practices whereby queerness isn't a surrender to the status quo of race, class, gender, and sexuality. When has queerness ever been seen as a... Okay, it means building forms of queerness that reject the given realities of the government and the
What
market.
does it have to do with black people? Like,
What does
I'm
that have
just
to
so
do with a
lost.
college class? This is something you meet up at the Y for on Thursdays.
Most definitely for free. And you thought he was getting paid.
It means building forms of queerness. Isn't there just one form of queerness?
Yeah, queerness. Like, that's it, right? It's all encompassing.
That's the form.
That reject the given queerness kind of rejects the given realities, right? So if they say men aren't supposed to paint their nails, you paint your nails, given reality rejected, right?
Okay, reject the given realities of the government. So the government says you could be gay and get married. You can be gay and be afforded all the rights that non-gay people have. So are you saying you reject that? You reject the equality and access to equal rights and opportunity?
I didn't even think about that. Especially now, today, 2023. What exactly does the queerness bar you from? What does queerness separate you from in terms of what the freedoms and everything that the government gives people? Given the realities of the government and the market, what the market?
So everything is advertised as gay. Gayness permeates everything in 2023. Gayness is damn near ubiquitous. So if you're talking about building a new form of queerness, not the current form of queerness, and that new form of queerness has to reject the realities of the government and the market, you're saying you want a queerness that is not the most liberated and widespread that it is now? You don't want that incarnation of queerness? So you want queerness to be more marginalized and closeted? What is this new form of queerness that rejects the realities of the government and the market? Because it would seem to imply that there's something about the government and something about the free market that's absolutely conspiring to destroy gayness. And it seems to be embracing it, normalizing it, and promoting it like never before. So what is this harsh reality that's being faced by the queer community that a new form of queerness needs to be developed in order to combat that? Like, I don't understand the great struggle it's trying to speak to. And for it to be black queer studies, yes, I agree with the owner of blackness. I don't understand how that's relative to anything that anybody would identify in terms of blackness, how that's related. I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear a dog whistle about blackness. Blackness wasn't alluded to or mentioned peripherally. I didn't see anything in that declaration that would make black queer studies anything specific to black people. Did I not understand it correctly?
I'm completely. I've never been more confused. Like, I read pretty well. I have decent comprehension, and that's what I call a word salad. There's a lot of elements in there, but it doesn't really amount to anything other than like it's.
You're still hungry,
right? It's
is Roderick Ferguson black? Like who's Roderick Ferguson?
I gotta think that he's gay and black. I would have to think. Otherwise, if it's a white woman, isn't that appropriating? How can you teach black queer studies as a heterosexual white woman?
Gay and black. Definitely. Oh, that's queer black studies right there, bro.
Yeah.
And you have to buy his book.
If you don't have
no
it
choice. And remember what we talked about last week. Why would the NAACP even be involved? Look at this connection to academia.
Shit. Hold on.
Go to college and you gotta buy my book.
He is a professor
mandatory reading.
of women's gender and sexuality studies. He's a professor of women's studies.
But he's not a woman. How is this even possible?
Wow, because black trumps everything. He's the author of One Dimensional Queer. Bro, I'm
flabbergasted right now.
We demand the university and students protest He's a prolific fucking writer, though. I'll give him that. The Reorder of Things, the University and its Pedagogies of Minority Difference. Nice word there.
So I just want to understand. So this is what the NAACP is fighting for.
In favor
On behalf of black people, the NAACP is black people, don't come here and jump on cars in Florida. You better not do it. And you know why? Because we have to defend gay black studies. If they're going to take gay black studies, not out of our colleges, they're taking gay black studies out of our public school shit that everybody pays for, right? There's probably a lot of school districts where the parents are like, nah, can you teach my kid how to read and do math? Can you teach my kid how to build an alarm clock from scratch? Can you teach my kid how satellites work?
No.
Can you teach my kid to measure the circumference of the earth by measuring a shadow that's cast at noon?
Bro,
No.
you're
Can you
about falling
teach
on
my
all of
kid
it.
No. Teach my kid black gay shit. I don't, as much as that may be something that they can get from a movie or maybe learn about from one of their friends who shares their experience. Hey, I'm black and I'm gay and we're friends and I want to tell you a little bit about it. Cool, man. You're my friend. I want to know about your experience. Let's share thoughts and ideas with each other. All right, man. Awesome. That's to the extent that you could get that information. And if you say, okay, well, this is important. If you're developing people to be workers and professionals and to contribute something to society, culturally, I think the gay shit will make its way in. When you talk about a government-funded institution, hey, this is the most important stuff I get into your brain, and that's where we're at. That's where you draw the line. What if they say? I guarantee you, if the Florida school said tomorrow, we're just going to stop teaching black people math. We're going to graduate you, and you never need to learn how to read, and you never need to learn math, and we're just going to graduate you if you're black, and we're going to consider that a part of reparations. And but no, if you're white, you have to learn it. We're punishing you. But if you're black, you know what? We're sorry about slavery. You don't have to learn math. You don't have to learn how to read, and we're going to graduate you. The NAACP would not intervene at all. The NAACP would not jump up and say, wait a minute. I think you're keeping pertinent, important information that will lead to the success of these. You can't keep that away from them. They would spin it as more black people are graduating high school than ever before in record numbers. Florida has one of the highest graduation rates of black people in the country. They turned it around. And you know who did it? Not filthy racist Klan member Ron DeSantis, not the governor. The NAACP fought for equitable graduation standards for black people. They wouldn't care if it detrimentally hurt. No, this is about promoting politics. It has nothing to do with the quality of life or the real danger of black people. And nobody is even, I guarantee you, nobody that's involved in this shit really believes it. He lives in Florida. He's not moving out.
No.
Right,
He's not telling
look,
black people to leave.
you
Florida.
Rogans don't come here, but I'm going to stay here and hold down the fort. Don't worry about it. And he doesn't care. They're not following up. Like, hey, what is the data? Are black people coming to Florida or not? There will be no follow-up to see if there's been an increase, an influx of black people, or if black people have really stayed away, because that's not the point. The point is to say, hey, black people have a reason not to come to Florida. It's based on some flimsy shit. But if we say that, then it's only a stone throw away to say, oh, and plus Ron DeSantis hates black people. We don't want him to be president. He's pretty much a Klan member. Look how racist he made Florida. Yeah, well, the NAACP did tell black people to stay out of Florida because it's so racist. What? What?
This is amazing. Bro, check
Just
this.
trying to
Okay.
figure out, what does this have to do with the human experience? Like, what is?
I'm going to tell you
How
right
does
now.
this correlate?
It's selling books. The most
There it
important
is.
thing to the NAACP is that black people are forced to buy gay black books. It's the most important thing all of humanity should be learning. It's the most important thing. And if you take that away, fuck it. We're going to throw down the gauntlet and tell black people never to come to Florida. That's how much this organization that's supposed to be about the advancement of black people. This is an organization
No,
designed.
excuse me.
Look,
Colored people.
I can't say that. the needs, ambitions, the justice, all of the things when you talk about America holding black people back, systematically destroying black people. This organization is like, nah, you're not going to do it, crack ass devil. We're going to protect black people and we're going to advance them no matter what you do. We will stand between you and the bleeps, and we will defend them to the death, and we will advance them, and there'll be nothing you can do to stop us. Word? So what are you going to do to advance them? Make sure you don't take these gay black books out.
Yeah.
You will not take these gay black books out of... If you take gay black books out of mandatory high school learning, I'll tell black people never to come here again, and you'll basically be a racist. And there'll be nothing you can say to prove me wrong. You'll just be a racist.
But what do we do about this, though?
I think we already did. The NAACP said, hey, don't come to Florida. And Floridians said, no, wait, please, come back.
So this is not the problem. The problem is not reading gay books.
Not having access to this book.
All right. So the sociology of race relations in America typically describes an intersection of poverty, race, and economic discrimination. But what is missing from the picture, sexual difference, can be as instructive as what is so wait. Okay, so there's an intersection of poverty, race, and economic discrimination. But what we're not talking about is the sex stuff. And that's a problem.
I'm pretty sure the French call it négrifter.
Yeah.
Négrifter.
And in English, we call it a nigrift. It's
definitely
a nigrift. Ferguson reveals
the nigga's up.
The nigga's up. Ferguson reveals how the discourses of sexuality are used to articulate theories of racial difference in the field of sociology. A stunning and compelling critique, the next step in queer studies, the first step in a comprehensive reconfiguring of existing paradigms from canonical Bro, it's not saying anything.
Is he just I'm an idiot. So this is slave time, right? And I'm just the slave. I'm the slave who's rebelling, right? And then a guy just goes, all this oppression, all this, we're getting beat, we're working for free, and then you have Mr. Ferguson over here. He's like, yeah.
But where do you put your
penis? And they're mean to the gay.
He's like, but where do you put your penis though? That's really gonna decide.
That's what I'm trying.
How we move forward. How we need to know before we move forward in fixing economical discrimination, poverty, and race relations. Before we can get to any of that, I need to know what you do with your penis on your off time.
Now listen here, we gonna get Mr. Thompson and Mrs. Abigail in their sleep, and we gonna get free, and we gonna escape. And you have a question?
Yeah. Yeah, I like wearing lipstick.
Stuff?
I like wearing lipstick. How do I fit into the struggle?
I don't think I get that you want to kill Massa and get us free, and that's cool and everything. But I'm kind of concerned because I don't think you're really kind of thinking about how we're going to reimagine and build new forms of queerness, ones that kind of run contrary to the, political and economic realities that are out there.
Somebody shoot this nigga. That's basically what they're going to be thinking at the front of the room. When you raise your hand and from the back of the room and they're talking about cleaning up real discrimination and how we're going to fit ourselves into this new world, and you say, but I have a boyfriend, so how does that work in this new world that you're building?
And just to be clear, he's not getting shot because he's gay.
No.
It's not a hate crime.
No.
It's that you're within the midst of something that's not about you and your feelings right now. There's a place for that. We're not saying it's not important, but this is the national advancement of the Association of People.
Colored people.
Of people of color.
No, colored people.
There's
a difference.
No?
There's a clear difference. Right. It's not NAAPOC.
It's the NAAPOC.
No, NAACP. We got to respect the organization. It's colored people. This is what we see. This is the thing. That's like misgendering somebody. You can't call them something that they don't self-identify as. They don't self-identify as people of color or black people. They refer to themselves as colored people. So it would actually be bigoted to not refer to them as colored people. Them and all the people that they claim to serve. So color people, right?
You know, the okay.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
it's
yeah.
I think this is just a grift to sell books.
A nigger.
If the information
grift.
if the information you're providing to society is truly valuable, if people truly have a hunger and an open mind and an open heart and believe in your work, that they'll part with their hard-earned money because they want to absorb the thoughts that you put out there, you're not going to stop it. You're not going to stop it. You're not going to stop people going out there and finding a way to get your book. There's people online right now sharing books that are banned, that have been taken off Amazon, that have been taken away from any kind of convenient means to get sold. But there's a hunger out there for information, and people are finding it. Think about all the YouTubers that maintain an audience off of YouTube. People get banned, and they find alternatives. They find Rumble, they find Honesty, Subscribestar, whatever. People find alternatives, and look, those people go and find those people because they're like, dude, you've got some information that I want. They know they don't have that. I will force the school. I gotta hustle. The school system makes my book mandatory. You have to read it. And it's the curriculum for schools all over. It's nationwide, Common Core, whatever the fuck. So all schools have to buy these books. Well, we kind of don't want to buy these books, and when we read it out loud, it sounds really retarded. It sounds dumb. It's kind of hard to believe this was written by a smart person. We're not sure exactly what your point is in destroying old forms of queerness and erecting new forms of queerness that challenge the current reality. We don't know what the fuck you mean, and the kids are dumb, and they can't add 2 + 2, and nobody knows how to make a potato battery. We need information, but this information doesn't seem valuable. Well, it doesn't matter. I've got a connection at the school board. They're making a class centered around my book, so it doesn't really matter if my book is valuable or not. I'm guaranteed to get a check because people are forced to read my books. Schools have to buy my book. What a contrast. Wow. You want to talk about the realities of the market? Yeah, you want to rig the market. You want your reality to be forced on everybody else. You can't have any contrary opinion. We'll ban your book. We'll ban you off of social media. Say the right thing. Agree with us. And don't ever try to marginalize our authoritarian, canceling all of you voice. You can't silence it. We're never going to engage it to argue with you. We're not doing that. They give their opinions the same way they give their books. They want a law to make it mandatory. You have to think like this. You have to read this book. And so Ron DeSantis comes along and says, I don't think that shit's that important. Not on taxpayer dimes. You can still sell your book. He didn't outlaw the book. He didn't censor the book. He didn't censor the author.
No, but nobody's going to buy it on their own. We got to pipe it through the schools to make sure you get it against your will. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to just go buy. Who's going to go buy that book?
Well, I'm saying people have been banned to much further degrees.
Yeah.
Censorship has been enacted in a way more intense manner against other people who have said way more coherent things.
Okay, so this other piece here, the one at the top that we skipped over because Black Queer Studies just stuck out so much. Topic 4.15, intersectionality and activism. Intersectionality is foundational to CRT and ranks people based on their race, wealth, gender, and sexual orientation. I guess that's an improvement on how humans deal. I mean, rank people, right, according to race and gender and sexual orientation. Known as the Kimberly Crenshaw, known as the founder of intersectionality. Really? Wow.
What if we just want to rate people on how much we want to fuck them? What about that? Well, the 1 to 10, if they're fuckable or not.
No, that's not fair.
Why can't we just rate people that way?
That's not fair because the way you decide in your own mind, first, symmetry is white supremacy. So if you look at somebody's face and you're attracted to them because their face is more symmetrical, you're a victim of white supremacy and you're upholding decades and generations of racial discrimination because I can't just leave it up to you to find me attractive. I have to indoctrinate you with some Marxist, communist rhetoric so you can look at me and find a way that your brain can be attracted to me. That's what I'm thinking. I'm just guessing here.
So you force me to read your book until you force me to find you attractive,
Right.
and you force me to rank you the way that you're demanding that I rank you.
Right.
All right, this sounds
probably,
valuable to humanity.
Yeah, I'm not going to guarantee it, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say, however this is laid out, makes the person who wrote the book the hottest person in America.
This is more important than NASA. This is more
Clearly.
important than the space program.
Clearly. And the bottom one here is where they lost me. The other two, I'd be willing to sit down and have a conversation, even if inside my head I'm going to think this is going nowhere, this is some bullshit word salad. But the last one, we can't fully see, but it says something about Movement for Black Lives. Movement for Black Lives is an organization with the stated objectives that include eliminating prisons and jails and ending pretrial detention. So eliminating prisons and jails.
It's anarchy.
What world is even that? Eliminating
New
prisons
York
and
City?
jails?
What's that movie called? Where they kill people once a year?
Oh, The Purge?
The Purge.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Or
Eliminating
California, LA.
or California, current California, same thing, Purge.
Yeah.
Look, all of the shitty cities in America that are much more dangerous than Florida, statistically an undeniable reality. I guess the
Higher gun laws.
the new forms of queerness will reject that current reality. But the current statistical reality is all of the cities, Baltimore, Detroit, LA, New York City, are way more dangerous than Florida. Statistically, you're way more, your chances are way higher that you'll be murdered or a victim of a violent crime there. But we're going out and saying Florida is the most dangerous place on earth, and all of those cities have basically practiced this thing that you're proposing. We don't have to imagine a world where nobody's staying in jail to their court date. We don't have to imagine a world where there's no prisons or jails, because all of those cities, essentially that's how it is. And people are committing crimes. You're talking about 45, 50, 100 plus arrests, multiple felonies, and people are still out fucking people up and making reality miserable for everybody.
Safest city in the U.S.
Safest cities, top 10 safest states in America: New Jersey, New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts, Vermont, Connecticut, Rhode Island. States
Is that true in New Jersey?
States with the most white people: Vermont, Maine, West Virginia, New Hampshire, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Iowa. Some of these are intersecting. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying. These are concentric circles that happen to overlap in the middle. It's just a weird little tidbit of information there.
Did New Jersey hustle their way to?
Fudging
the numbers.
New Jersey is.
How did they do?
New Jersey invented bribery. It's the Teamsters. The Teamsters paid somebody to get on this list.
There's no way. I believe that list. There's no way.
This shit is.
They probably got it where it's like Camden, Newark. There's probably a couple where they just left us like.
Yeah,
for the purposes of this study, they will not be a part of New Jersey.
Yeah, there's a time on the calendar, like if you do your measurement on the third Wednesday of September between the hours of 12 midnight and 12:17.
New Jersey,
Newark is not a part of New Jersey. Newark is not a part, and Trenton. Newark and Trenton are not a part of New Jersey. So if that's when you do your study, then it'll
based
come
upon
up.
it's probably like based upon some law in like 1813. It's
like working out
technically
well.
it wasn't a part of the original assimilation into the Union. Somebody cooked the books. I don't believe it for a second.
Terrible.
New Jersey is the safest state in the fucking.
Listen, if
Union. No way.
if part of the foundational elements of your organization and what you stand for is eliminating prisons and jails, I think that's a non-starter. Is that fair to say? Like, if we say, okay, we're all going to sit down and have a meeting at the town hall, we're going to figure out how we can iron out the details, mull this all over. We want to bury the hatchet. We want to get to know each other, figure out how we can move forward amicably. And we sit down at the table and we say, okay, who is this person? Leslie K. Jones, you start first. She says, I want to eliminate prisons and jails. Everybody can just get up and leave, right? We don't have to listen no more. If that's where you're starting, conversation's over.
I think for all serious people, yes.
Let's
Okay.
hear
And
these two ladies out.
but we don't think it's very it's very telling about the perspective and the notion of the crystallized mass marketed black identity. Like, what does that say about really the perspective that you're coming from when you're like, well, what does it mean to study black lives? It means more Rogans need to be out on the streets. It's the starting point is there's some black people in prison. There's some black people in prison. There's no conversation about, are the black people in prison? Should they be in prison?
No.
Were these urban terrorists making life terrible for the people that were going to work and trying to contribute to the community every day? Hardworking people that wanted a safe place to raise their children. Are those people, their black identity means nothing. When we say, what's the black identity? The black identity is the criminal making it miserable for everybody else. So right here, we've synthesized and made synonymous blackness and criminality. Because it just says black lives. Movement for black lives.
How do we fix movement for black lives? Shut down all the prisons. What are you trying to say? What is the correlation between black lives in general, not black criminal? See, that's like a specific sector of law, like criminal justice, right? So that means you specifically going into this place to figure out how you can help these people here. The criminal justice, like, this is where I want to work at. Not the whole of law. It's not business law. It's not financial law, not property law, none of that. Not real estate law, criminal law. So there's a special sector for that. But the wholeness of black lives, close the prisons and the jails, and then we can talk.
Too many black people are in prison right now for unknowingly violating real estate and wire fraud laws. They didn't know. They forgot to carry the one.
Right.
It's tax evasion, tax fraud. It was totally accidental, and it's an epidemic. And if we're going to talk about helping black people, we got to talk about closing these loopholes and bringing broader tax and real estate law education to the community to keep people out of prison.
Well, I know for a fact that over 70% of black people who are incarcerated right now have actually been incarcerated for misfiling permit laws when they were rebuilding, like adding attachments to their houses or building garages and shit. They just didn't file the paperwork right. That's how most of them got in jail. Most people, that's a little known fact. Most people don't know that. It's not crime.
Why has nobody made that movie?
Right.
Why has nobody made that hood movie where it's like, where's my dad? He's in prison. Why? Because he tried to add a guest room and bathroom for your aunt who was going to live with us.
Right.
And the city threw him away for 20 years.
Right, yeah.
It
wasn't crack? No, it wasn't crack.
Nope.
No.
Trying to build an extra room.
All we wanted was a little bit more space to expand our family. And
he didn't know nothing about permits.
And you know what? The truth is, he did file that paperwork right, but this evil cracker-ass devil down at the city hall, she didn't put it in the right folder. Yep. And that's how your dad ended up in jail for 20 years. Most people don't know that. So maybe she's got a point here. Close the prisons and jails. We let out all of these people who mistakenly committed tax fraud, the jaywalkers, the people who didn't pay child support. Like, all of these people need to just get back out on the street, and then we can talk about freedom of movement for black lives. What have we been doing all of this time? You've been focusing on the drug dealers and the gangbangers. There's such a small minority. What about all the people who just got caught up behind red tape? What about those guys? Those are the real heroes we need to be letting out of jail. See, they're onto something.
All of this is fancy. It boggles the mind that we go to these great links. We make this intellectual and linguistic gymnastics that we're willing to undergo to not just speak plainly about clear things, so that we don't come to just obvious conclusions. We need to be forced to be bombarded with all of these studies that explain away all of the common sense and inconsistencies. So I have to think in the terms of your jargon, within the parameters of what you have declared is acceptable, and that's the extent to which I can draw a conclusion. So you've completely defined the acceptable conclusions, and any conclusion outside of that is just racist, and it comes from not being able to just accept certain, just simple things like when you see those group of young people jumping on that car for no reason, no good reason to jump on the car. There wasn't any bugs. The car wasn't on fire. There was no need to jump on that
To
car.
be fair, we don't know what happened before the film started rolling. We don't
That's
know
true.
what we don't have all the detail. We don't have all the information, so
Nobody yelled World Star.
We can't really say that there was no reason for them to be jumping on this car.
There could have been a good reason.
It
That's fair. But what I'm saying is,
maybe there's a baby stuck in there.
they're trying to get the baby out.
They're trying to the Negro jaws of life. They're trying to get a victim out of
And
the
those
car.
dudes are just sitting there while the car. You know what? We should all be able to, like, what prevents us from just looking at this and saying, look, there is no collective black identity, effigy, voodoo doll, Dick Cloud mascot that anyone has to answer for. Why can't we just look at this and universally say, that's not good? That's not good. There's no good reason to do those things, and it's not excusable. Why does the first thing have to be, you just want to be upset about this because they're black? You just want to have an unfair standard. Look at these white people at spring break being rowdy. They were being rowdy.
Yeah,
they were
playing-
throwing each
playing
other
football.
around in the beach. That's not good. And it's like, yeah, spring break is always a little bit out of control. There is going to be rowdiness, dirtiness. The motels are like, oh, they trashed it. And there's a certain baseline level of we're having spring break. We were having a good time. And there was some fallout. Chairs were broken. People drank too much. Bad decisions were made. Plan Bs were carried out the next day. It was a wild, irresponsible youth ritual. And then just to go, people are just pistol whipping each other and fighting in parking lots and jumping on cars, and and to not just look at that and say, well, if I compare those two things, we don't have to make it about race. We don't have to say this race was this much represented in that, or anybody misbehaving who is of a particular race is now the default the default representation and ambassador for their respective Dick Cloud voodoo doll. No, we don't have to say that at all. We can just all as humans say, on a human level, that's bad. That's bad. But we can't do that because we have to inject some sort of racial narrative that has to be explained away, or to make it so you can't criticize these individuals because they're black. Well, can't we just criticize them because they're assholes? All black people don't have to answer for it, but why can't we just all collectively as a society say, yeah, all of these people in this particular video are assholes? That's why, like, you gotta, you know what, Doobie owns blackness. I definitely think Devon, he should own whiteness. He doesn't have to change his hashtag, but he officially owns whiteness, and he's proactively trying to rebrand whiteness by kicking white people out. If the racial identity has to own every video in your Twitter feed, we have to start trimming the fat. If you care about the collective identity for everybody, because everybody's Twitter feed at some point could have somebody that's fucking up your brand. They are fucking up your brand. And it depends on what you want your brand to be known for. But if you don't want your brand to be known for fighting teachers, you got to kick that kid that challenged the teacher. You got to kick him out of the white race. You got to say, you know what? You're bad for business. This is bad for our collective branding. You have to go. But we can't look at this crazy shit and just be like, it's bad. It's bad. It's universally bad. We have to feel empathy for the people jumping on the car, but we don't feel empathy for the people whose car is getting jumped on for no fucking reason. The starting point of whether we're moral or not is absolutely insane. That's not rooted in reality. Maybe that's what they mean when they're talking about rebuilding queerness against the current realities. Like, to agree with them, you have to not be in reality. You have to, and so these fancy word salad classes have to be constructed so we can just keep making these narratives make sense. but you can't look at them for more than 30 seconds. And with anybody who's in their right mind to look at this and say, yeah, this is all bullshit. This is all bullshit. Florida's not dangerous. The police are not the biggest problem. You know,
Tell you what is New Hampshire.
Yeah, our dear brother Legit is in the comments and he said Google Pumpkin Festival riots. So I did. I Googled Pumpkin Festival, and I'm not even going to start with the pumpkin. We know what's going on with that. But there was a pumpkin festival riot, and I'll give it to him. Yeah, there's definitely some property damage happening. There was definitely some jumping on cars. There's some rowdy behavior.
And fuck those people.
But what
I don't care if they were abused by the Moors. Fuck them. They can't act this way now. Fuck those white people.
But what I will
not
say,
because they're white.
No,
because they misbehaved with pumpkins.
What I will say is nobody got shot, and this happened 8 years ago, and I can't find any instances of it happening since. The first Pumpkin Festival riot. So let me go back again and Google Pumpkin Festival riots.
Portland videos
from 2014. All of these videos, all of the CNN, every report of the Pumpkin Festival riot is from 2014. There's one from 2015 that says months after the riot, those who were arrested share their stories. People died at spring break last week because motherfuckers was wilding, shooting people. They had to create a curfew. But I'm just saying, I get the point. Bad people, or not even bad people. People exhibit bad behaviors for all types of reasons. People get drunk. They do all kinds of bullshit. What I'm talking about, mostly what we're talking about here, is the consistency of unapologetic violence, right? And the fact that there's always miles and miles of footage available for somebody to say, hey, look at how Negroes act. Now, I don't agree. This is not just a trait that black people have because they're black, right? This is clearly some cultural shit. There's clearly a lot going on. It's Miami. Miami's always pretty wild, right? It's really easy
Miami's always a terrible place.
It's easy to get shot or stabbed in Miami
definitely,
for almost no reason.
Definitely a wild country.
Yeah, it's a wild spot. So when you get an influx of random people from all over the place that all fly into here and their intent is to consume a lot of alcohol, but I mean, maybe they needed more pumpkins. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe if there were more pumpkins involved, that could have kept the tempers down from flaring. Maybe there would have been just as much property damage, but nobody would have got shot. Nobody would have got killed.
You know what the Negroes is, because we have to go deep dive into the sexuality, and then we could break down what's going on with the Negro.
Right. But the difference is, right, when in sports teams riots, when somebody's with white folks, they don't care whether the team wins or loses. They'll flip a fucking cop car over if their team loses or if their team wins. There's no way to know what's going to cause them to riot. Lots of property damage. People rarely ever get murdered. But if you look at spring break, if you look at Freaknik, if you look at all of that shit, there's going to be a lot of rapes, a lot of murders, a lot of people are going to get seriously fucking injured because it's not just like, hey, let's get drunk and flip a car over. It's like, this nigger stepped on my Jordans, shoot him. Those are very different. And then we got to factor in people's upbringings. I'm down for all of that. But the truth is, they are just very different congregations of wildness. When white folks get wild, they don't tend to fuck each other up that much unless they agree to it. If you go to a mosh pit, you might get your jaw broke dancing to some heavy metal music. But with these folks, it seemed like all you got to be doing is walking with your girlfriend on Miami Beach and 20 dudes might swarm her and strip her naked. Those are very different situations.
Gotta shoot a gun after that.
Yeah, somebody got to get shot. And you can't just shoot it in the air because they ain't scared of that. They've been shooting guns in the air since they was babies. You can't scare Negroes shooting in the air. You got to actually shoot somebody. Somebody's got to get perforated.
Stand your ground.
Somebody's got to get perforated or they're not going to run. You shoot a gun in the air, they might rush you and take it from you. I'm telling you, Negroes are hardcore. Or colored people. I'm sorry, NAACP, my bad. Colored people are hardcore. But yeah, this is just some wild shit. I just wish, first of all, it's none of my business. I don't take any responsibility for
Yeah,
what black people
first
do.
of all.
I don't take any responsibility for what black people do. If somebody walks up to me and says, why are black people always shooting each other? I'm going to tell you to go choke on a stick of butter. I don't give a fuck about what you tell. It's not my business. I don't engage in these behaviors. This is not about me. This is not about blackness. These are just people who share a cultural experience. They share a narrative, and this is how they express themselves when shit goes sideways. Right? When you got white folks, they express themselves in a particular way when shit goes sideways too, when they have that cultural connection. There's some white folks that was raised in a trailer park somewhere in middle America that get busy way different than these college kids get busy. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely a lot of this, I think, is attributed, rightly so, to culture. But if you look at Twitter, you post this video footage on Twitter, there's going to be just a bunch of people that says this is who they are. This is what black people do. This is the fundamental essence of blackness. If you go to the mall, 12 black kids are going to jump you and fucking kick you in the face until you're in a coma. This is just what they do. All I'm saying is, I think the world would be a better place if this shit wasn't happening, of course. But if there was, I don't understand why there's such a wealth of footage for people to judge in this way. I can't go into these conversations and tell some white lady on Twitter when she's in fear for her life because the Negroes are chimping out again. And this is language that they use on Twitter. It's not me saying that Negroes are chimpanzees, but they say chimping out. And if you look at the footage, I mean, people are acting like some wild fucking animals. I'm sorry. I know it's not cool to refer to people as animals and it's dehumanization, and that's like the first path to Nazi gas chamber, like all that. I get that. We don't want to call people animals because it's too easy to kill animals and herd them all together and just murder them all. But this is not regular, well-adjusted human behavior. Let's just put it that way. All of these people must have deep fucking unprocessed trauma. I don't know what the narrative is. They're wearing $200 sneakers.
It's definitely a lot of mental deep trauma because it's like you just said, a lot of those people got expensive shit on and they're out there just acting a fucking fool.
They're gonna tell you he's gonna be wearing $1,000 worth of jewelry. He's gonna be wearing a YSL Gucci belt and a pair of $300 Jordans, and he's gonna tell you we have pressed, so fuck crackers.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's getting to the point now where it's a nigrift, right? Somebody's got to say the niggas up. Again, they don't want you to pull the rug out from under a scam that's going really well. You know, if you see somebody attaching one of those card skimmers in the gas station, they're going to be like, shh, don't tell nobody. I'm about to make a bunch of money stealing everybody's credit card numbers. And even though he's clearly a criminal trying to victimize innocent people, well, innocent people as in they didn't ask you to fucking steal their credit card information and possibly ruin their fucking life. But if you say, hey, this guy's installing a skimmer, it's not like charge it to the game, I got caught. It's like, oh, this motherfucker snitch, he told on me, and you're the criminal now. Like, you're the bad guy for helping the jig be up. And that's what I'm talking about is very likely happening culturally with black people right now. A lot of black people who engage in these types of behaviors, I think they know what's going on. I don't think they're just that deeply traumatized where they got to go out in the street and fuck each other up. I think they just like it. They having a good time. And then when somebody asks them, what the fuck is wrong with you? They're going to be like, yo, slavery, bro. Wait, what? What the fuck you talking about? Slavery? Y'all, you're too well adjusted to be traumatized only in these moments where you're fucking each other up in Miami. That's my opinion. I think they know what's going on. I think it's a nigrift, and they just don't want anybody to pull the covers off it because they're having a great time acting this shit out in the world.
Selling a lot of books.
Yeah, look at all the footage from California with people fucking just filling up. They go in the store, they fill up their bags, they grab a bunch of shit, and they run out. I'm sure there's some white folks doing it too. A lot of white folks are doing it. But when this footage hits, okay, the difference is when you put both of these out into the world, right? You put out footage of the white folks doing it, you put out footage of the black folks doing it. There's just going to be a lot more compiled footage of black people carrying out these behaviors, which leads other people from the outside looking in. It's difficult to fight off that narrative. If you're constantly being shown video of random people attacking random people in public, and every time you see it, 90% of the time, it's racially structured in one way. If you're taking the first problem is you probably shouldn't be absorbing all of this shit, right? It's not preparing you to live in the real world. If you don't live in a place where this is happening, if you watch enough of it, you'll feel like it's a real threat. You go out of your house, you start looking at black people funny. When you're on your way to the Cinnabon at the mall and you see a Negro in line, you're like, no, let's leave because he's going to start a fight. That's the narrative that you've been soaking up from Twitter, sinking its way into your real life and projecting itself on people who haven't done anything to you. But how difficult is it to turn all the shit off that you're seeing and just walk around the world like nothing's happening? Something's happening. Somebody's getting fucked up. The footage ain't fake. It's real. So what is the root cause of all of this? Tariq Nasheed would tell you it's slavery. If you hadn't brought people over here on a boat a few hundred years ago, none of this would be happening. Negroes wouldn't be hitting you upside the head. Yeah, what are they doing right now? They're getting shoved into a cobalt mine to help you record your next crime on your iPhone. That's what they're doing. That's what's happening over there. But over here, like I said, you're recording crime. You're putting them on your TikTok. You're pointing guns at your TikTok. And then when you get arrested, you say, I ain't even do nothing. I don't know, bro. It's a really weird narrative happening in the world right now. I have no clue what the real fix is for this shit. Like the real fix. My fix is one thing. But I have no clue what the real fix is. I don't know how to connect with people who are doing this shit. I don't know that I want to.
There's no real fix with that because there's no real fix. That's just it's society. This is what's gonna happen when you let the youth go out and have a good time and there's alcohol involved. It is what it is. Look, I said don't let niggas have a break, but that's just my opinion.
Just ban vacations for black people.
Let black people just work. You'll never have crime ever again. Just let them work nonstop.
No vacations.
How would the NAACP feel about that? Like, hey, we're taking these books out of there. But what if they were like, listen, we want to help. We want to help close the education and the graduation gap, and also minimize liability claims. So what we're gonna do is black students don't get spring break anymore. They're gonna go for 5 days of black queer studies and intersectionality and activism.
Right.
We're gonna have a whole week dedicated to those studies.
And that's the only time you can do it, right? You can't take
everybody's
these classes.
Happy.
You can't take these classes any other time of year except for during spring break when all the white kids are out giving themselves alcohol poisoning.
We're prioritizing black education. We're incorporating the book hustle that the NAACP, I'm sure, gets kickback from. I think this is a way to make everybody happy, and they'll have to show up in school, and they won't be able to go down to Miami to jump on cars. And I think that this would serve them better. I think you would be more prepared for your future if you had a whole week of black queer studies and intersectionality and activism instead of spring break. It's just an opportunity to get charges or possibly get shot.
You might be
right. If you love black people, you want them in school during spring break.
Cities will be safe nationwide.
Yeah, spring break is black entrapment. They're just setting up a trap for you. It's like a bait car. It's like a bait
pallets
car.
of bricks.
It's like
we get niggas in jail. Let them be off for a week.
It's an undercover cop posing as a sex worker, and you just walking down the street horny, and you're like, "Hey, ma'am, how much?" Bang, you're in jail. They set that trap for you. Miami's just there existing. They got alcohol on tap. You go down there, you take 2 drinks. Next thing you know, you go from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Negro. And you start breaking people up. You start pistol whipping white women. You're just bugging out. What's happening? It was a trap. They knew what you were going to do. You came down here a college kid, and now you're in jail. School to prison pipeline again. See, eliminate prison. Again, they know what they're talking about, man. They know what they're talking about.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me see what else.
James Muwakil is the president of the Lee County chapter of the NAACP. On Saturday, he joined with other NAACP leaders who voted unanimously to ask national headquarters for permission to issue a travel advisory to Florida. Florida's NAACP does not want black people nationwide to even think about visiting our state.
We see where the governor is trying to silence black voices. And we cannot let that happen, and we will not let that happen.
Wait, so if the governor is trying to silence black voices and you don't want that to happen, your remedy for silencing black voices is to tell black people to not come to the state?
Don't come here. You can't even talk. Why come? Your voice can't be heard. You come here and your larynx is automatically cut with a special government, I don't know, digital Wi-Fi ray.
Yeah, they got a Wi-Fi laser that silences Negroes' larynx. The only thing you're going to be able to do here in Florida is impregnate a white woman or pistol whip her. Those are your only two options. Or you can actually do both if you wait. If you stay here long enough for her to have the baby, then you can slam her into the stroller and kick her ass too. So that's your only two options as a black man in Florida: is impregnate a white woman and then beat her up.
You're not gonna learn about no black queer studies.
No, we ain't doing that.
Because we know that is the authentic voice of the silenced black majority. Why can't we speak up with black queer voices? No. Why not? Why are we being silenced?
Muwakil said the goal of this advisory is to educate voters. But Congressman Byron Donalds told me he doesn't buy that.
Travel advisories? I mean, come on, seriously? Are we issuing travel advisories for Florida citizens?
This is a Republican. He's a coon.
Yeah, he's a Republican.
You don't have to listen to him.
Travel to Chicago or San Francisco? No, we're not doing that. And that is actually where people are being threatened with actual harm. Look, the stuff that's going through the legislature is to make sure that we were being focused on history and not being focused on politics and indoctrination. This travel advisory thing from the NAACP just doesn't make any sense.
It's the racial Chinese finger trap. The more you struggle, the deeper you get into it, because it's all by design. It's all by design. They want these videos in circulation.
Yeah, they do.
They like that they loosen the standards and loosen the law, and now the floodgates have opened of all of these videos now getting on there. It helps sow division, because people see that and they're like, oh, yep, and it fulfills the narrative, and they go along with it, and they have to start dealing with everybody just wants to oversimplify things. Everybody wants it just to be super simple, super clear. I know who I'm supposed to hate. I know who's on my side. I know who the enemy is. And just for the sake of politics and keeping power, you would just pit human beings against each other and just fuel it, turn it up to 11, put all these things out there. It feels like it's by design, because think about how you can't respond. So if the trap that they lay out is, okay, here's some footage of black people behaving badly. Not all black people, but there's a narrative that, there's certain places in America where there's a certain brand of, and it doesn't mean everybody within the community is behaving that way, but there's going to be pockets in every hood that you go to. There's the version of that in every neighborhood of every color, whatever. The public argument is always along black and white. That's how we have to do it. We've made everything a parody. So they released that footage out there, and now if you go to correct it, if you go to speak up and say, well, you're saying black people shouldn't go to Florida because Florida's dangerous, but there's these other places where black people are that are super dangerous, you've already crossed the race Rubicon. You've already violated. And so people who don't want to be known as racist, you pistol whipped somebody on spring break, I don't know, I'm just going to look the other way. I'm not going to acknowledge it at all. What is the point of me acknowledging it? If I acknowledge that this is behavior and it's bad behavior and not behavior that I would ascribe to all black people, but I'm just seeing this behavior and saying, hey, this behavior is bad, I'm going to be a racist. So I might as well not acknowledge the behavior at all. And the people that would step up and say, look, I don't want to make this about race. I just want to point out that this is bad behavior. Well, you're a racist. And so it fuels the left-right paradigm nonstop, so that everybody on the right who's willing to speak up against it, or not even on the right, just willing to be honest about it, like, yeah, that's bad behavior. You're a racist. And everybody that's too afraid to speak up, right, who doesn't want to be a racist, which I think the majority of people. I think the majority of people in America it's an anathema or whatever the word is. It's like the worst thing you could be. Nobody wants to be a racist. Most people, I don't think, are racist the way that people define racist, right? And they don't want to be known as that. So there's no way to get out of that. As soon as you show the footage of people behaving badly, as soon as you put out into the public discourse, Florida is racist, don't come to Florida, there is no right answer. It's all just a trap. There's no right answer. There's no way you can engage in that conversation without making it worse by affirming for everybody in the wrong direction. So people who kind of just want to hate black people, you've got the footage to affirm it. They're like, yep, see, I told you this how it'd be. And to black people who are like, look, all white people want to do is just criticize us in unfair ways. They know they get rowdy on their spring break too, but look how they react when we go on spring break and misbehave a little. See how much they hate black people? So everybody gets reaffirmed in their desire to be divided and justified in their anger or hatred of the other. I don't think it's by accident. Maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist. I don't know. It feels tinfoil hatty or whatever, but it feels like some really calculated chess type shit to inject information the way that social media does. Like we're in the midst of this grand experiment of how you sway public opinion and how what the key hot buttons are that you get a reaction and that gets the attention for people. Like it just feels diabolical.
Yeah, I mean, and it's difficult to wrap your mind around it in any type of fundamentally good way. Like, how are you supposed to process all of this footage as a person who's? I get sick of it. I'm racist now. Like Chris Rock said, you love black people, but you hate niggas. Like, when you see this, like, it takes a second for me to detach myself from it. It's not easy to the point where, yeah, this shit ain't got nothing to do with me because I don't do this kind of shit. But when you first see it, you like, oh, come on, bro. What the fuck is going on? And then it's like, you know what? Human's gonna human. It's not my business.
But once you put Miami to it, it's like, yeah, that's why I stay away.
Yeah, and there's no way out of it because, so, the black people who see this and don't want to be judged alongside criminals and unapologetic violence and all of this shit, they don't want to be judged alongside that. But most of them still carry the narrative that all white people are racist and this is all because of slavery. Like, it works for them in the opposite direction, but they don't want that same energy to be directed at them. They want to be judged on a person-to-person basis while they're judging white people as a conglomerate. So, again, humans are going to human. This is what it is, right? So,
can you imagine, though, like a group of people telling you, like, yeah, white people are bad, they hate us, come live here in this city. And then it's like, the crime rate is high as fuck.
Yeah, why is the crime rate so high?
Black crime.
It's all black people here. What are y'all doing? Like, no, we still suffering from post-traumatic slave syndrome, so I got to whoop your ass when you're on the way to the grocery store. But at least it ain't no white people.
It's the white people's problem at this point. I think it's us, B.
Yeah, it's them. It's not us. I ain't part of that shit. I ain't part of that shit, bro. I don't do that kind of shit. So, yeah, I'm rejecting the entire concept of blackness at this point. I'm rejecting it all. Everything.
Well, it's copyrighted.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, my bad. But, I mean, I can't deal with that shit. It's too much to carry as just a regular human being. I can't account for this shit anymore, right? There's nothing I can attribute to being black.
I can't speak up for it. I gave up defending it a long time ago. Yeah. I'm with you though, because if an old white lady right at work shows me this video, is like, look at this, look what's going on in Miami. There's no defense.
No, all you can say is them niggas crazy.
Just say anything.
All you can say
all
is
you
them
can do is
niggas
punch
crazy,
her in the
bro.
face and take her phone. Say, you racist cracker bitch. You hate black people?
Yeah, I'll push that bitch down the stairs. Why? She showed me a video of a bunch of black people kicking a dude in the head. Wait, so you pushed her down the stairs? Yeah, that bitch is racist.
Yeah, that'll learn her.
Yeah, now she knows not to show black people footage of black people doing terrible shit. I'll beat that bitch ass again.
But dude, you've ascended. That's the goal. That's where we all have to do. Because there can be no allegiance or defense. There can't be. The tribalistic, yes, it's hardwired into people, but it has to be distilled into something different. The energy has to be reappropriated to something of a higher purpose. Because I'm not defending shit. I'm not defending anything that I personally didn't do. I don't give a fuck what Jews owned slave ships. I don't give a fuck that the slave ports were closed on Jewish holidays. I don't give a fuck. I wasn't there. I didn't do it. It's got nothing to. I'm not apologizing for anything that I personally didn't do. But what I do think people should do is explain. There doesn't need to be any apologizing or defending. I'm down to have the conversation if you're going to explain. So if you want to make the argument, okay, it's living out past stresses or trauma and da-da-da, and all this is poured into this current bad behavior, okay, if you're willing to explain that, but we agree that the behavior is unacceptable, has no place in society. It should be summarily condemned by all people of every race, right? Because if we can't start there, there's no point in having the explanation discussion, right? So all I try to do is explain white racism, not defend white racism, not promote white racism. Racism is stupid and is bad. To hate anybody by virtue of who they are, but that's not what's happening here. We're pretending it's racism. Nobody is looking at that video, right, and saying, you know why I hate everybody in that video? Because they have black skin. No, I hate them because they're jumping on cars, because they're fucking it up for everybody. It's bad behavior. It's bad behavior. When people are criticizing, but if we've made it to where you can't criticize behavior, if you've made behavior and skin synonymous with one another, you've put everybody in a position where no bad behavior could be condemned. And why do people do that? Because they still feel connected to the effigy. When the effigy gets hit, they feel the pain and they feel like they need to jump up and defend it. And we're not defending bad behavior. We're defending blackness. We're defending the black voodoo doll. Someone has talked shit about it. We've all heard the call, and we're going to jump up to defend it. And I think once you remove yourself out of it, they just said, no, it has nothing to do with me. Why? But you look like those people. No. I'm not lining myself up based upon who I look like. I'm lining myself up based upon what's important to me, what I value, and how I think human beings should act towards one another. That's how I'm defining my group. And if you define your group that way, you see all this other shit, and you're like, of course it doesn't have anything to do with me. But we're not, society and humanity is just not enlightened enough. We're clearly not there yet, where we can just look at shit and universally condemn the bad shit. We got to find clever excuses and explanations. And I'm just saying, there's no point in having the explanation discussion, where I do think maybe there's some value there that you can mine, if you're not gonna have the universal condemnation. If we can't agree on good and bad, like, you're right, there's nothing else to talk about. If we're talking about problems and the first thing you say is we got to get rid of prisons, you're right. It's time to walk out, because you're not acknowledging that there's a good and bad, that there's bad behavior, and some people are behaving so badly that we have to separate them from the rest of society, not because of the color of their skin, because they shot 8 people at a wake. They shot 8 people at a wake, including a baby, a wrinkled ass baby in a stroller, and they need to go to prison. We need them. It has nothing to do with their color. It has to do with behavior. We don't have enough behavior conversations. We need to start having behavior commonality.
We definitely don't.
Behavior conversations are rooted in white supremacy.
Well, that's how you have to frame the argument, so that it's just a perpetual,
right.
It's, again, the racial Chinese finger trap. There's no talking our way out of this. And the moment you open your mouth, you've added more fuel to the fire, and the more fire that burns, the further away all of us are from making any progress. And that's Twitter, that's social media, that's the news. Anytime we have a conversation in the context of those things, we're already in just a burning house.
Yeah. There's nothing truly redeeming about protecting or touting the tenets of so-called blackness. There's nothing inherently good about it anymore, because any of those things that you I mean, if you really want to get down to it, the flag you're flying is the photosynthesis of suffering. That's the flag you're flying. when you want to say, oh, the music and black people dance so good and they're so cool, and like that's all a bunch of stupid shit that has nothing to do with the color of your skin. Really has nothing to do with the color of your skin. Like if you wanna listen to like Dr. Layla Africa or somebody like that, that's like the reason black people dance better is because we have melanin in our inner ear that makes us hear more of the rhythm. Like shit like that. You know, we got extra melanin on our taste buds that makes us taste food better. That's why white people don't season their food. Like all this goofy magic melanin shit. Like if you want to do that, do that. But just know that it's just rooted in a fantasy world. There is nothing redeeming about flying a flag of blackness. One, because when you take pride in something that you didn't do on purpose or something that you didn't personally cultivate, that's a slippery slope into a lot of fuckery. I'm proud I'm 6'4". You're an idiot. You didn't do that. You didn't choose that. You didn't work out so hard that you got taller. That's just genetics, B. Like it has nothing to do with you. So if this is what you want to be proud of, it's going to cause you to be an asshole on a lot of other fronts. And that goes with being black. That goes with being white. I saw, the guy who did the What is a Woman documentary? Matt Walsh. I think he was mentioning on one of his shows. I think Devon might have commented on it. He was mentioning on one of his recent broadcasts, why is it that white pride is the only one that's unacceptable, but black pride is fine and all of this shit. And it was like, it kind of made me cringe a little bit. This is one of the issues that I have with those kind of people, because they don't look at this big picture to be able to understand why these things are happening. Like, I don't think there was ever a time in this country where there was any major campaign to make white people hate the color of their own skin. Right? I don't think that's ever happened in this country. There was never products that was based on caricatures of whiteness that people were selling, but there were definitely products based on the caricatures of blackness. There was definitely a full-on psyop campaign to make black people hate themselves in their natural configuration. So I can understand why carrying something like the idea of black pride might be a reparative energetic signature that you carry. You know, when you tell them that, oh, black is ugly, then you got to raise a few generations of children telling them that black is beautiful to try to fix it, right? But there's a larger conversation that you're missing. The real conversation is all of this shit is stupid. It's all dumb. There's nothing you can attribute to being black that really has to do with the color of your skin. Yeah, you can connect with people because they have similar cultural experiences, or they have similar things in their past and their history that kind of connect you together. But if we didn't process those things the same, what kind of camaraderie did we have? Like if your narrative growing up was, we used to be slaves, so now I hate white people, versus somebody else says, we used to be slaves, but now we're not, so I'm going to become a doctor. Why should we connect on the idea that we used to be slaves? You hate white people and you want to throw Molotov cocktails. I don't really give a shit about that, and I'm going to do what I want and improve my life as I see fit. Why do we connect on the idea that our family both used to be slaves? It's not about blackness at that point. It's about how you process these ideas and what conclusion did you come to. You came to a destructive conclusion. The other person came to a conclusion that makes them want to build and repair themselves and be the best they can be. We're not the same. We're not the same. So if you want to push me out of this idea of blackness because I'm not angry, I don't see the things the same way you do, I'll gladly walk out. Like I said, I'm already rejecting it. I haven't found any good reason to carry it around as some kind of banner. I don't see any reason to carry it around as a pin that I put on my chest, like some kind of Boy Scout fucking, I got the sewing badge. I got the knot tying badge. Oh, look, I'm black. Who fucking cares? Tell me something else about your character. Are you compassionate? Do you have integrity? Or do you go behind the counter at the bodega and try to beat up an old man and get stabbed to death? Like, what is that blackness also? Like, what? It's all stupid. I'm throwing this shit away. I don't care. Doobie, of course, I still respect your ownership of blackness, and I definitely commend the work that you're trying to do with handing out the demerits and all the getting people right. They need to see a different idea.
It's got to be done.
It's got to be done. It's the Lord's work, and it must be done. But I see no reason to tie myself to the concept of blackness in any way. I don't see how it improves me anywhere. I see how tying myself to the idea of compassion improves me. I see how tying myself to the idea of being intelligent or any of that shit, character references. I see how that has an objective effect on who I am, how I carry myself, and the impact I make on other people. I cannot see the through line to where me identifying and carrying this banner of blackness impacts anybody in a positive way, or me or anybody around me, and I just don't see it. I don't see it. And all the things that they claim falls under the umbrella of blackness. All the things that they would tell you it's just a lie. It's a lie. It's a lofty, fantastical way. They're just telling you a story. Maybe some people need that story, and you should have it. If you need that story, you should have it. If you hate yourself when you look in the mirror because you only see roots and my name is Toby Massa, if that's your narrative of yourself, so you hate your nose and you hate your lips, then maybe somebody needs to walk you through some slow singing music and like, look, black people invented the refrigerator. And like, if you need that, go for it. Go for it. And in reality,
Sammy Sosa doesn't need it.
A really intelligent, no, not at all. Sammy's fine.
He walks with his head up high.
Yeah, Sammy's fine. None of that. He's doing great.
He doesn't need none of it.
The truth of it is, a really intelligent person invented the refrigerator. I don't know factually if the color of his skin had anything to do with that invention. I don't see it. If I'm wrong, let me know. Maybe there's a scientist who studied melanin and be like, no, listen, let me tell you. Because
let me tell you, brother.
Let me tell you.
The melanin.
There's something in your brain called substantia nigra, and that means you clap on the 2 and the 4 instead of the 1 and the 3. I get, maybe. I don't know. I just haven't seen the research.
It's the gay books. The gay books is what's getting it all together. Just
see,
keep
that's
buying
what
gay
it
books.
is. I haven't read any of the gay books. So maybe if I start reading the gay books,
we start reading the gay books, they will get to these conclusions.
Yeah, I need to read the intersectional queer Marxist manual, because I haven't read none of that shit. Maybe that's my problem in life. I haven't read none of these fucking books. But yeah, it's
I'm
pretty
over here
wild.
reading Malcolm X, and this fucking book came out in 2003. I was fucking up.
Yeah, you fucking up. You dropped the
shit.
ball. You dropped the ball. You should have been reading queer Marxism. That's what you should have been reading. That's how you need to navigate the world, through the eyes of
Okay,
queer
Hitler, I know you
Marxism.
hate the Jews, but how about this ass, though?
But do you like anal, Hitler? That's the real question. That's the real question. The intersexuality between race and sexual shit.
This is what happens when there's peace. This is why what's his name got stoned. Who got stoned? The philosopher. This is what happens when there's too much peace.
Right, yeah.
This
People
is
just
for
kicking
foodery.
back and chilling. They be like, you know what?
Just writing crazy shit.
I need to think of, yeah. It's fucking
Talking about
weird.
Socrates?
Yeah,
Socrates got stoned?
Hemlock.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
No, he didn't get stoned. He got tried and was forced to poison himself.
Oh, well, that's better.
Something like that. That's a lot better.
He probably,
just fact
He
checking.
probably
And
didn't want men to paint their
But
fingernails.
he probably,
That's what
yeah,
it
he
was.
probably was like, yo, y'all shouldn't be painting your fingernails. Like, poison them.
And also, that's also some shit I don't care about. I don't really care about men painting their fingers. I don't care, bro. I mean, I know there's a lot of people who do.
I gave up on that a long time ago. I've seen that since high school, like just guys painting their fingernails black. It's not my thing, but I just was like, that's what they want to do.
You
You
know
want
what
to
I call
sit there, you want to sit there and get nail polish just to paint all 10 of your fingernails. Then more power to you, brother. More power to you.
Sunset, what is this? Dread Pirate Snoop in the comments said, I'm proud I'm left-handed. That's a slippery slope, my brother. That's a slippery slope. You're on your
Before
way
you
to
know it.
complete anarchy right now. I'm telling you right now. Let it go. Let it go.
Bunch of oven dodging right-handers on deck.
That's exactly what an oven dodger is, a right-handed person. Yeah, it doesn't make any. And you know what I call it? That shit like that, back to the finger painting shit, and these people who think they're rebelling against the system. We came up with this thing a long time ago, and it's always been hilarious to me. I call it the Nonconformist Factory. The Nonconformist Factory is an organization who builds every representation of human rebellion, right? They have a model number for it. So you're like, you know what? I'm a part of counterculture. I'm going to completely reject society. How are you going to reject society in your own unique way? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to smoke weed, listen to reggae, and grow long dreadlocks. Okay, that's the fucking, that's the Rasta Rebel. That's
Level
model,
1.
Model number 6842B. We have those. You're not doing anything. All you've done is identify a different group of people that you want to follow and be exactly like. So you're not really rebelling against anything. Oh, let me guess. You paint your fingernails, you wear all black, and you listen to sad metal music. Oh, yeah, we got those. You're not unique. You're not unique. You're just following a different crowd, which is fine. But don't act like you're doing some revolutionary shit. You didn't choose something unique. You looked on the internet, and you know what? These sad emo people, I completely identify with them. So I'm going to flip the whole world upside down, and I'm going to shop at Hot Topic. Really?
Per my hair.
Yeah. I'm going to make my hair pink. Oh, great. Great decision, pal. Awesome. I don't care about any of that shit. The character is not defined by these little things. It is enclosed cognition. Don't get me wrong. I get it. The way you present yourself to the world has an effect on you and all the people who come in contact with you. When you dress yourself a certain way, the people who see you come to a specific conclusion. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't think we'll ever really know. But it takes place.
That's what it is.
Because it definitely has an effect on you, too. You're tricking yourself. So I get it. I wear dashiki sometimes. I carry a staff and shit like that. I'm sure my model is in the nonconformist factory too, but I don't mind that. This is the shit that I like to do. I'm not going to get all hemmed up and whipped up into a frenzy because a dude painted his nails, and dudes are not supposed to paint their nails. I don't give a shit. There's some guys who do care. I don't think they care as much in real life. Like I've never seen in all my travels a person be confronted by a stranger for the way that they look in real life. I've never been in a fucking I've never been at a store getting a burrito from, what's that place called? Chipotle's. I've never been in a Chipotle getting a burrito and a person with a pink mohawk comes in and some cis white male goes, "Get a haircut, stupid. What do you look like?" I've never seen it. Never seen anybody get told to pull their pants up in real life. I've never seen anybody say, "Men aren't supposed to paint their nails. Get out of here, weirdo." Never seen it. Never seen it in my entire life. Not to say that it doesn't happen, but it happens more on the internet than anywhere else. People are extremely judgmental on the internet because they get to do it from a safe distance.
That's the only time they can scream at people.
Yeah, they're sitting in their house and they see a video and it just gets them all crazy and they post it on Twitter and they go, "This is what's wrong with the world." What is it, buddy? What's wrong with the world? Women who dye their hair blue and put tattoos on.
But the law says.
Okay.
Come on,
all right.
brother.
You got these guys who are telling themselves, like, "I would never date a woman with tattoos." You're a liar, sir. It's easy to say that on the internet. But when you're in the presence of an actual living woman, your brain works different. Your brain works different. You can look at her, "No, she's too fat. She's too fat, and I don't like her like that." And then next thing you know, she's sitting next to you on a train and your heart's palpitating. It's very different. And I don't believe none of them. So I think this is all performative internet outrage for the most part. Performative internet outrage. People see shit and they want to be a part of the group that really, really dislikes it. I don't like these things. I don't like this stuff. But everybody's out in the world doing what they do. Who fucking cares? Twitter is a toilet. Trust me when I tell you Twitter is a toilet. It has its uses. If you need to blow off some steam and all of that, go for it. And that's just talking about the aggressive side. I'm going to talk about the passive side a little bit too. If you go on Twitter and you read somebody's tweet that say trans people are stupid and you cry, you're not equipped for reality. You're poorly equipped for reality. You're looking at what somebody typed on the internet and it's having a physical effect on you. You're crying because they say that we don't exist. But do you though? Do you actually exist? Well, shut the fuck up about it. What are you doing? Why are you looking at an imaginary person's, and not to mention a lot of these motherfuckers is bots. I didn't completely accept that until very
bots
recently.
Or one guy with like 30 accounts.
And some of that is just program responses from the bots themselves. They've already been trained on how to talk to people and how to respond. Facebook does it. That's how Facebook keeps arguments going. Some of these accounts, people will be talking shit just to like flame up the comment section, and you go to their page, they got 2 other friends and 4 pictures. Like, this ain't even a real person. What is going on? But some people, like I said, some people are just not equipped for reality. Yep, okay, legit. Again, he says, except those things happen outside of the internet. They absolutely do. But I think this is magnetism, right? This is people finding each other. They go to a place like you put on your shirt and you go, you have you're taking your testosterone or your estrogen, and you go to a place and somebody calls you sir, but you consider yourself a ma'am. So there's an argument. You pull out your phone and you record it. It's just like people all showing up to do cosplay, but it's just not as happy. It's not as fun. There's not as many trinkets to buy. You don't have to get a ticket. These are the games that people act out with each other in the world. What they really want is to connect. But the internet has poisoned so many people's minds so deeply. The only way they can figure out to connect is to find an argument. They feel alive. This is just my theory. I could be wrong. They feel alive. They go out in the world. They get in arguments with other people, road raging and shit like that. They feel alive. People are traumatized from mad shit. They stressed out, but ultimately they want connection, because it's really easy to just sequester yourself from all of this shit, but people need connection, even connection that causes them, like, you know what the criminals are doing? They're going to jail for connection. They're going to jail to be caressed by other men. I know that's a rough take to deal with. They're going to jail to be caressed by other men. They're not going to jail because they can't stop committing crimes. They commit crimes so they can go to jail to be who they really want to be. Nobody told them that it's okay to go to the park and hold hands with another thug. Nobody told them that. So instead, they punch an old white lady. They get caught by the cops. You get 5 years in jail. And now you can relax on the bottom bunk with, some other sexually aggressive male. This is the culmination of their life's work, in my opinion.
Don't write the rules.
I don't make the rules, bro. I don't make the rules. But yeah, maladaptive coping mechanism. That's actually what it is. All so people can work out these things and get to a place where at least I got a chance to wrestle somebody today at the rally. I haven't touched another human in months. So I went down to the rally. I snatched his fucking picket sign and he grabbed me. It felt so deeply fulfilling. He punched me in the mouth. I know I'm alive. I'm not in the Matrix. I got punched in the mouth. I bled real blood. The world is real. So eventually they're gonna have to boil some noodles. I don't know how to help people fix it. I really don't know. All I know how to do, from my own experience, the only thing I know how to do is detach, commit myself to the work of the compound, the cult life, and I won't hide our progress. I'm not going to hide the things that we figured out to help us get there. I'm not going to hide what we're doing on the compound to help us stay rooted in our spiritual shit, rooted in our own accountability with each other. I'm not going to hide it. We're going to create content. We're going to put the videos out. We're going to write books about it. So if you want to get a piece of that, you want to figure it out, you want to put yourself in that same energetic frequency, we're going to leave all the breadcrumbs. I'm not going to hide any part of the process. Now, if you actually want to come to the con, that's a different, pump the brakes. That's why we have a courtyard and a great hall. That's why we have these concentric circles, because not everybody's invited, which I think is fair. I don't expect to be invited to everybody else's compound. You know what I'm saying? I would like to take a look and see what y'all doing, but I don't expect to be there and take up space there. That's totally your place. So do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. But I think there's a better way, possibly, and that's what we're trying to work out right now. And I don't know how to fix this shit for people. I don't know if I can fix this shit for people. I'm not arrogant enough to think that I have all the answers. I only have the answers for me and people who overlap with my same frequency of thinking. And that's why we do this, is to stay connected, to work this shit out, because we really don't know. We're making this shit up as we go along. We all are. I just choose not to be moved by a lot of the bullshit that I see. So it's all cult work from here on out. All work is self-work. We're all doing individual self-work, but we're doing it towards a common point, a common goal. And I think us talking about this weekly and showing people what we're up to, I hope it's helpful. But honestly, when it really comes down to it, I'm going to keep it all the way real. I don't care, because it's helpful to me. And I'm selfish in that way. You know what I'm saying? I'm selfish in that way, because all I have is my own experience. What everybody else is going through.
If you could show a better way to live life, that's a whole different world to look at. It's like you don't have to live like this. this, and then it's impossible. No, let me show you the correct steps that you could possibly take to
Possibly,
live a
yeah.
better lifestyle.
Yeah, possibly, because I don't know. I don't know.
Because yeah, you don't know.
Yeah, man, we about to get into this. We have a format that we've been checking out. We're talking about lately, so we're gonna.
This man said he's in Murder Island in Australia.
So before we're gonna take a little bit of an intermission. You know what I'm saying? Actually, where is this? Here. We're gonna take a little bit of an intermission. Hold on. Let me turn that down a little bit. We're gonna take a little bit of an intermission. Come back with a little bit more talk, quite possibly. But on the way out, I did find a video today where some other people were talking about their commune life, and I just want to take a quick look before we dip out on this intermission. I want to take another quick look at their commune life, because the shit is special. Hold on, let me see if I can get this up here. Hold on, bear with me. It's working, it's coming. Hold on. Where is it at?
Okay.
There it is. Nobody can see it yet. What's going on? Yeah, they're not doing it for now. Okay. I might have to do it when we come back. Because OBS is giving me a little issue right now. But either way, if y'all down to listen to a little bit more of this conversation, we'll appreciate it. We're going to come back in a few minutes. So just give us a couple minutes and we'll come back with another stream to wrap up the evening. YouTube has been cutting us off and giving us some issues. So we figured one of the best ways to deal with it was instead of having these off-putting 3-hour videos, maybe we'll cut them in half and do multiple broadcasts, feed the algorithm a little bit extra. They seem to appreciate that kind of thing. So that's what we're going to do. So y'all stay tuned. We appreciate y'all for coming and listening and commenting and all of that stuff. You're greatly appreciated, and we will be back. So y'all take it easy and keep an eye out for the next stream.